Hi everyone, it's John from What Up. Welcome back to another video. Now this is the first of two videos I'm releasing today. Now I've never released two videos in a day before, but I wanted to do this as one video. It just got too long and clunky, so I cut it up into two different videos. So this video is going to focus on some news we got this week. Now, earlier this week, last Wednesday to be precise, we had 6 cast members announced by Wheel of Time on Prime during the reread. So we knew that these cast members were official. Wheel of Time on Prime announced them, and that's, it's official news. Now, the day after, Redanian Intelligence, which is a website that primarily focuses on The Witcher, and I've left the link to this article in question in the description box down below if you want to read it yourself, released 5 additional castings. Now, these are leaks. They are not actual castings whatsoever. However, I want to stress that this website is rarely, if ever, wrong. So, although take these with a grain of salt because they are not official, they are leaks, I'm pretty much considering most of what they're saying gospel. Now, in this video, I'm going to go through those castings and talk a little bit about the actors and actresses in questions and what the castings are. However, all of my theories about the casting, I'm going to leave for a second video. And that's when I said it got too long and clunky. It was just too much in one video. But I do have some theories about these particular castings, and I don't think everything is what meets the eye. Does that make sense? Alright, so before we get started, spoiler warning, in this video I'm talking about castings that include characters that are in The Great Hunt as well as The Eye of the World. So if you hadn't read at least the first 2 books of the Wheel of Time series, be forewarned, I may spoil a couple of things to do with both books, although I won't talk too much about overarching plot, so the story itself won't be ruined, but specific scenes and characters will be. Alright, let's get on to the video. Alright, so my first order of business here is my normal disclaimer. If I mispronounce any of the actors or actresses' names wrong, or the characters' names or place names or anything like that, it's my own fault. I tend to mispronounce things, and I am sorry. Feel free to correct me in the comments. I don't get upset about that stuff. Alright, so on to the first of the 5 leaked castings. The first one is Keira Johnson. Now, she is a young actress who's best known for National Theatre Live's Small Island. Now, I knew nothing about this young actress. I had to look her up, and I had to do a little bit of research on her, and it seems like she does have some acting chops, so there's that. But again, she's very young, and she's very inexperienced. She hasn't acted in a whole lot yet. But who is she playing? Well, the article suggests that she's playing a young Swan Songe. For those of you who don't know who Swan is the Amaryllis seat in the Wheel of Time series. So she's an older woman. Now, why would a young actress play an older woman? Well, most likely it's for flashbacks. Now, the article goes on to speculate that we might see her in flashbacks either for New Spring, which we know they're going to do because they have cast some actors and actresses in roles that are only in New Spring, or they might even build Moraine and Swan's friendship up when they're novices and accepted in the White Tower, which would be excellent. It would be a really great way of showing how the White Tower works and how the structure is to people who haven't read the books before it's properly introduced much later on in the series. So there's that. Alright, let's take a look at our next casting. Alright, so the next leaked casting we have on the list is John from What Up with the shaved beard. Yeah? No? I mean, let's face it. When I shave my beard, I do look a lot like this guy. It's kind of eerie, actually. But in reality, this is Clarke. He's been an actor. He's a British actor. He's been an actor since 1998, and he's acted mainly in small roles in pretty much everything he's done. You may recognize him from 2013's Da Vinci's Demons, but other than that, there's not a single show you could look at this guy and go, I know him from such and such a show, because he does usually do minor roles. Now, who is he assumed to be cast as? That's Basil Gill. Now, Basil Gill is the innkeeper of the Queen's Blessing in Camelin. He does factor in a little bit in the first book, so we see him for a couple of chapters. He does have a speaking role, and then later on in the book series, he does come back and shows up here and there for a few chapters, has minor speaking bits, does a few things here and there, and does have some speaking roles, like I said, but mostly he's just sweating and mopping his brow with a cloth. And as a fellow bald guy, that's something we can do very well. So, will he do well as Basil Gill, the innkeeper? It's hard to say because none of the roles he's played really nail the Wheel of Time innkeeper niche, but like I said, it's a very specific role, and he does seem to be able to act, so there's that. This could be Darren's breakout role. We don't know. I mean, he may do Basil Gill and then go on to do very big things afterwards. So I'm hopeful that he'll do well in this. Now, in the book series, he is tied very closely with Tom Marilyn, and that is the same for our next casting. So our next actress on the list is Azuka Hoyle. Now, Azuka Hoyle is best known for her role in Mary Queen of Scots, and she's been an actress since 2018, so she is not super experienced either. She's only been acting for a few short years. However, she did do a very good job in Mary Queen of Scots, so there is that to go on. Now, who is she playing in the book series, or who is she assumed to be cast as? And that's Dina. Now, Dina was Tom Maryland's lover in the books for a very brief period of time, so she really only factored into a couple of different chapters, and then we didn't see her again for the rest of the book series, and I won't spoil it and say why, but we don't see her again. Now, the article did say that in her casting listing, she was credited as Dana. So Dina, D-E-N-A, was the character in the books, and Dana, D-A-N-A, is the character that she is casted as. Now, they say they assume it's a spelling mistake because they think this is the character she's playing. So, if it's a spelling mistake, that does change a little bit for what people think is going to happen in the first season of the show, and I'll talk about that in my next video in the theory section. However, she is not necessarily going to play Dina, because just because it's spelled a little bit differently doesn't necessarily mean that that's the character she's going to be playing, at least in my mind. Although I think she'd be really good at that sort of character. It's possible, and like I'm saying, take these castings with a grain of salt, that she might be playing something a little bit different, if that makes any sense. All right, so our next casting is Jennifer Preston. Now, Jennifer Preston is best known for two things: Britannia and Borg vs. McEnroe. She's been acting since 2015, so she's been in quite a few more things other than that, mainly minor roles. But if you watch what she's been in, she is a very good actress. She does actually do a good job. So who is she assumed to be cast as? And that's Miss Grinwell. Now, if you remember in The Eye of the World, when Rand and Matt were on the road on the way to Camelin, they had very little money and they didn't know what they were going to do. So they stopped at various places trying to make some money, get some food, and look for places to sleep. One of those places happened to be the Grinwell farm. Now we have Mr. and Mrs. Grinwell and their daughter Else. Now Else went on to be a very, very, and I'm stressing this, very minor character later on in the books, where she did a couple of things. We've seen her again in a couple of chapters, and that's pretty much it. So Miss Grinwell is even more minor than that. So this is a character that had maybe a page or two in the books, so very little screen time in the series, and now she's a leaked casting. So I have a theory on this particular casting and this particular character, although I'll let you guys know that in my theory video. Again, like I said, the videos got too clunky, too mixed in together, although Red Indian Intelligence is telling you she's playing Miss Grinwell. Alright, so our final casting is the one that you've probably all been waiting for, or maybe not waiting for, because a lot of people are getting a lot of fatigue about it right now, but this one has garnered the most controversy out of all five that Red Indian Intelligence leaked, and a lot of people have been talking about it for good or for bad. Phil Snowden. Now, Phil Snowden is an actor, a dancer, and a musician. Now, he's been acting since 2007, and you may know him from Les Miserables, Jesus Christ Superstar, or more recently in 2019, Rocket Man. So he is a very well-rounded artist. He can do pretty much everything. He's one of those, Renaissance men, so to speak. Now, he's been cast as... There's a reason I left this to the end, is I can't say it with a straight face. He's been cast as Steve. Steve. The article states it's an original character made for the Wheel of Time. Steve. So, Steve, I can't even say it without laughing. I'm not going to say it anymore. It's been kind of controversy because it's silly. I mean, that's why I'm laughing. It's been all over Twitter, all over Facebook, all over pretty much everywhere. And they're calling it Steve Gate because everyone is kind of like up in arms over someone being called Steve in the book series. And I mean, let's be fair, it's not really a Wheel of Time sounding name, Steve. But I assume, and I have some theories into who Steve actually is, and a lot of other people do too. Some of them are quite outlandish, but I'm going to get into them in my theory video that I'm going to put out later on today, just so you're aware. But for now, Phil Snowden, quite talented, playing Steve. All right, now before we go, now that the silliness is out of the way, I want to talk about something a little more serious. All right, serious bit. I've recorded this serious bit. This is now take number, I don't know how many takes. I don't know if you noticed from the last scene to now, I'm a little red in the face. Because I was getting upset talking about it. And I don't want to. So I'm going to keep this as light as possible. In the last few videos that I've done for castings, I've had a few comments from people who said I was very dismissive of how actors and actresses looked when I talked about them in the role. Yeah, you're 100% right. I was, and I will be, and I always will be. Now, let me explain myself. How an actor or an actress looks, to me, has absolute zero bearing on how well they will play a role. It's my opinion, but I don't care how they look. So let's see if I can quantify this just a bit. When the Emmons-Field 5 castings were announced, to me, Perrin, Matt, Rand, Nynaeve, Egwene, Lan, Moraine, they were all perfect headcanon. Like, it blew me away that the casting director somehow reached into my head and went, these are the people. And I was so excited about that. I really was. Then Alexander William was cast as Tom. And it didn't disappoint me, but it 100% was not my headcanon. That's not how I pictured Tom to look at all. Not even remotely close. But I wasn't upset because I didn't care. And that's when I realized I don't care what an actor or actress looks like when they portray a character, as long as I believe that they're going to do a good job. And Alexander William is an amazing actor. He is going to do a phenomenal job as Tom. There's no doubt in my mind. So it didn't upset me. Now, we'll talk about headcanon here for a second, because everyone's headcanon of these characters is a little bit different, and it's influenced in different ways. So I've had people say to me, but what about the cover art? What about the collectible card game? What about all the Wheel of Time artists and the paintings? And what about the comic books? What about the graphic novels? What about Robert Jordan's own dream castings from back a long time ago when he did the interview and he talked about that? That all of that affects people's headcanon. Not just what's in the books. So the companion can affect it, the books can affect it, and all the other stuff can affect it as well. So none of the characters in the books are described perfectly enough for you to go, it has to be this person. Broad strokes only for a lot of the characters. And that's very true to form for Robert Jordan. He would describe the clothing for five pages, or a city, or a barrel, forever. But when he talked about a character, he gave you broad strokes and then let you fill in the rest. And that's how he did it with most of his characters. So, should they be exactly as he described it? Well, no, not necessarily, because this is an adaptation. Some people are very offended that they're not staying 100% true to form. If it was true to form and exactly a port from the books, it wouldn't be an adaptation, and they'd have no wiggle room whatsoever. They would have to have it word for word, same as the books, in every way, shape, and form, and it would be horrible. It really would be terrible, because you can't port a book to the screen without changing anything. It's impossible. And if they try to stay true to form to a character description, this character may sort of kind of look like how the books described it, because it's impossible to find someone who fits the description perfectly and matches everyone's headcanon. I am sure most of you are going, Perrin didn't look like that for me. Lan didn't look like that for me. To me, they did. That's how I envisioned them. Because I was not influenced by the artwork. I was not influenced by anything else. I was influenced by the story itself and what the story said. And that's just how I thought of them when I read the books. And I still think of them that way. So if they do all that, they're shoehorning themselves in. They take a pool of actors and actresses for a certain role, and they say they have to look this way 100%. Then they cut that role down. So now they have this many. And they go, okay, now we have this many left for this actor, or for this role. How many can actually act? Well, now we have this many. Okay, out of that, how many are available? Well, maybe none. Maybe one or two. Maybe the one or two that are available can't act. Or maybe they're only available for certain times. So there's a lot that goes into casting a character. It's not just they have to look this way. It's, can they act? Can they portray the character? How do the screen tests go? I mean, I haven't seen screen tests for all the actors and actresses yet. I've seen some, but not all of them. And the some I've seen have been really good. Chemistry with other characters on screen. You could have the perfect person for your particular headcanon of Lan, but his chemistry with Rosamund Pike would be absolute crap. Do you know what I mean? There's a lot goes into casting. So when I say I'm dismissive of the way an actor and actress looks when they're cast in a role, I 100% agree with that. I am, because to me that doesn't matter. It's not one of the things that I take into my heart when I go, I'm going to like this character or not, because I don't care how they look. I hope that makes sense to you guys, and I hope I've been able to explain myself a little there. It's okay to feel a certain way about certain things. It's fine. Everyone has different feelings and thoughts about all kinds of different stuff. It's not okay to be upset with someone else for feeling that way, though. That make sense? I hope so. All right. Thank you all so much for sticking with me with my little rant there. I think this one may stick. It's not as bad as the other ones. There's no cursing. There's cursing in some of the other ones. And here's to many more.